Well, yeah, I want to know what would get you to a point where you trust the police. In that piece in the Globe, it mentioned that rather than trusting the police to provide security at your peaceful protest, huge protest at Franklin Park, you offered black men in the community $100 each, which they did not accept, but plenty of them came to provide security. What would get you to a point where you'd feel comfortable calling the Boston police to provide security for an event like the one that you led several days ago? What would change things for you?
Jim, I'm a black woman in America. I will never trust the police.
No matter what?
No matter what.
A few moments later.
Stop asking me how I feel about having a black police commissioner. He ain't doing a mother thing for the black community, okay? He did not do it for us. That him being in that position don't mean the same way he got on Facebook with his free speech bull, talking about how he want to have free speech to critique the ACLU who's fighting for immigrants and making sure that they ain't deporting people to goddamn ICE, right? Meanwhile, here I am going live asking for housing assistance.
Many months later.
Boston community leader says she is not guilty. Monica Cannon Grant is accused of taking donations from her anti-violence nonprofit to spend on hotels, groceries, even nail salons. In federal court today on fraud charges, a judge allowed Cannon Grant and her husband, Clark Grant, to remain free without bail. A grand jury found the couple allegedly led a series of schemes to defraud people who donated to their nonprofit Violence in Boston.
So the leader of BLM Boston and Citizen of the Year is now under federal indictment for defrauding donors of her not-for-profit. This is Monica Cannon Grant. She hails from Boston's Roxbury neighborhood and is best known as a community activist. Now, she came to fame in 2017 when she organized a counter-protest against what she and many others considered to be a white supremacist rally in Boston.
We're not standing against white supremacy. We're not going to have it in our city, not in Boston, not in Roxbury. We're not having it. Hey, hey, ho, ho. White supremacy has got to go!
As many as 40,000 people turned out Saturday, showing opposition to the expected message of the rally in a march against white supremacy. At the beginning of the march in Roxbury, organizers spoke out against the agendas of neo-Nazis and white supremacists, but also the mixed response to them from President Trump.
Now, in 2017, she launched a grassroots initiative called Violence in Boston. Now, even though it started off as a Facebook page, it turned into a multi-million-dollar not-for-profit in under 4 years. Now, during that time, she coordinated Boston's largest peaceful Black Lives Matter rally that had zero, and I mean zero, arrests. She also got $54,000 in public funds for pandemic relief and claimed that Violence in Boston, her not-for-profit, fed 80,000 families. Now, for all this work in 2020, she was named Bostonian of the Year. Now, Grant became a local celebrity, and that allowed her to charge $1,500 for things like public appearances, $900 for public speaking, and $50 for a personal message from Grant to you. Now, the not-for-profit is going so well that even the district attorney's office gave Grant money so she can do good works. Here is Grant talking about the district attorney's office giving her and her not-for-profit $6,000.
Y'all are trying to clock what I'm doing, and you're monitoring, because the DA's office gave me a $6,000 grant. And I was like, y'all are monitoring $6,000. I spent 20 grand in the month of August. You don't get it. Off of grassroots fundraising, helping women, paying light bills, paying rent.
So the DA's office was so confident in this woman, they said, we're going to give you and your husband $6,000 for your not-for-profit because you're doing good things. So it was a shock to the DA's office when she was indicted for fraud.
Breaking now at noon, federal fraud charges against the founder of the nonprofit called Violence in Boston, as well as her husband.
Now, the details of this story are hilarious. Remember that $6,000 she got from the DA's office? This is what she did with that money.
In June 2019, Cannon Grant accepted a $6,000 grant for violence prevention from a Massachusetts district attorney's office. Prosecutors say that money instead went to a nail salon, going out to eat, hotel rooms, fuel costs, and car rentals.
Now, all of that is insane. But before we get to the rest of this insanity, which there is a lot more insanity, I wanted to ask you a quick question. Did you know that in the United States, if a company puts out a product and they know that it can hurt someone in a particular way, either physically or mentally, they can be held liable? It's a concept called failure to warn in product liability cases. This is why when you hear those drug commercials, they say things like this.
Some people have had changes in behavior, hostility, agitation, depressed mood, and suicidal thoughts or actions while taking or after stopping Chantix. If you notice agitation, hostility, depression, or changes in behavior, thinking, or mood that are not typical for you, or if you develop suicidal thoughts or actions, stop taking Chantix and call your doctor right away. Talk to your doctor about any history of depression or other mental health problems, which can get worse while taking Chantix. Some people can have allergic or serious skin reactions to Chantix, some of which can be life-threatening. If you notice swelling of face, mouth, throat, or a rash, stop taking Chantix and see your doctor right away. Tell your doctor which medicines you're taking, as they may work differently when you quit smoking. Chantix dosing may be different if you have kidney problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Patients also reported trouble sleeping and vivid, unusual, or strange dreams. Until you know how Chantix may affect you, use caution when driving or operating machinery. Chantix should not be taken with other quit smoking products.
As you can see, whoever created Chantix does not want to be sued for failure to warn. And as you heard, they warned you about both physical and psychological side effects of taking this medication. So now, why am I telling you this? Because it's a product in the United States that didn't warn millions of people who use the product every day that they could be injured. Some of the side effects are attempted self-deletion, anxiety, seizure, panic disorder, hypertension, neck sprain, and a huge amount of others. And the product I'm talking about are video games.
We're going to turn now to our GMA cover stories about a new lawsuit that claims some video game companies are intentionally addicting kids to the game.
And we're talking about some of the most popular games like Roblox and some of the most popular companies like Microsoft. Now, I've teamed up with lawyers across the country, and we're filing lawsuits nationwide against developers who knew their games were engineered to addict you to playing, and they failed to warn you of those dangers. Now, successful claims can net you anywhere from $5,000 to $2 million, depending on your individual story. Now, to see if you qualify, go to videogameclaimshelp.com. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment, or scan the QR code on the screen. Now, if you don't think this is serious, do a quick Google search and you'll see how serious it is. Now, back to the video. Now, Grant was also collecting unemployment, saying she wasn't getting paid to do any of this stuff. And the text message between her and her husband pretty much says it all. She texted her husband, quote, "Unemployment caught my ass. Asked me to provide documents by June unless I'll have to pay it all back."
According to court documents, Cannon Grant and her husband presented themselves as unpaid leaders of the nonprofit. But authorities say Cannon Grant paid herself an income of more than $25,000 in 2020 and more than $170,000 in 2021. Authorities also say the couple collected more than $100,000 in pandemic unemployment assistance, though Cannon Grant was earning tens of thousands of dollars in consulting fees and her husband was earning weekly pay from a job. The couple's accused of using the money on plane tickets, new furniture, to defray the cost of a motorcycle and more.
Now, in an interesting twist, Grant's husband was killed in a motorcycle accident right after the indictment.
A motorcycle crash has killed the husband of Monica Cannon Grant, the community organizer who's under indictment on fraud charges. Clark Grant was killed in a crash in Easton last night. Grant was facing charges, along with his wife, that they used money for her nonprofit Violence in Boston for themselves. Both have pleaded not guilty to those charges.
Now, even with all the evidence like the receipts, the text messages, and the fact that she was getting all this money to help people, but really only helping herself, allegedly, the community still had questions about why she was arrested.
Again, she's innocent until proven guilty.
That's the reaction today at the anti-violence nonprofit organization founded by Cannon Grant and her husband, Violence in Boston, which uses this building in Hyde Park as a social impact center.
She has me working with the gangs in the streets to make sure that, we can kind of stem down violence. Can't be mad at a person like that. I mean, yeah, we make mistakes. Yeah, we may have messed up, but again, we're not educated on what a 501c3 is supposed to do all the time.
So the Fed said she lied about getting paid. She lied about saying she's helping people. She used the money to furnish her house and to go on these elaborate trips. Matter of fact, she even was able to con the DA's office. She conned the DA's office, allegedly out of $6,000. This woman had it all. Now, you would think that would be the end of her speaking engagements, but no. A local high school then invited her to come speak to the students about activism.
I made the front page of the Boston Globe 3 times in 1 year because I called the mayor the M word. I'm not gonna say it, but it's mother something, okay? I wouldn't advise you do that. I don't want nobody saying that Monica said, call your teachers or anybody the M word, but that's what I did because he was pissing me off. And I wanna show you that, it's the bottom one. This is what I received when I made the front page of the Boston Globe because I'm the first person in history to call the mayor the M word. Right?
Now, this alleged fraudster who's indicted on 19 federal charges of fraud, stealing money from the community she said that she's helping, living it up. The parents were like, this was ridiculous. She shouldn't be in there giving any speeches to our kids.
The parents demanding answers from the superintendent. They want to know how a community activist facing more than a dozen federal fraud charges was invited to speak to students.
Well, on its face, that doesn't sound very good.
I know my ex-husband's outraged. As a parent, I just feel like it's not good.
Can you understand why they might be upset given the fact that you're under federal investigation?
No, because I'm innocent until proven guilty.
Today, we spoke with Monica, not only about her presence at the school and whether she stole money.
No, I didn't.
Now, as a mom, would you have had a problem with someone who is under federal indictment giving a speech to your kids?
No. Because the people closest to the problem understand how to solve it. I am not the first black activist. In fact, there are 326 black activists facing federal charges.
But also referenced the derogatory phrase she called former Boston Mayor Marty Walsh.
It's not controversial to use a curse word. I think people who curse are extremely intelligent.
The superintendent told me by phone that the district is committed to ensuring a vetting process for outside speakers.
So at the end of the day, these are allegations and not facts. She is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That process is playing out now. But that doesn't stop us from hypothesizing what we think will happen. Do you think she's guilty? Do you think she's innocent? Do you think that she's being set up by the federal government because she's black? Let me know in the comment section. With that being said, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.